Tonight's global brief: clear, concise, and ahead of the curve. From markets to climate and tech, we scan reliable sources so you don't have to. Your world, briefing ready.
Hello and welcome to World News. I'm Eve, your anchor in our global newsroom. In the next minutes, we'll bring you verified headlines from geopolitics, business, and technology with clear context and concise takeaways. You'll learn what happened, why it matters, and what to watch next, without noise or speculation. Stay with us as we start at the desk with today's top stories, then zoom in on the trends shaping tomorrow. Let's begin.
All right, today we're diving into a moment that really sent some waves through the U.S. military. We're talking about a speech from the new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, where he laid down a pretty serious ultimatum for the top generals. Let's get right into it.
Wow. I mean, it doesn't get much more direct than that, does it? With these words, Hegseth is basically drawing a line in the sand. This isn't some polite suggestion. It's a direct demand. You either get on board with his new agenda or you're out. And he's aiming this squarely at the military's most senior leaders.
So that demand for resignations, that was really just the opening act. It was actually the kickoff to a much bigger announcement about a major, fundamental shift in the direction and the whole culture of the military. Okay, so what does this new course actually look like?
Well, Hegseth pointed to two big changes right off the bat. First, a whole new way of handling discipline. And second, getting rid of certain diversity and inclusion programs. I mean, these are huge policy shifts we're talking about, designed to really reshape the military from the inside out.
Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Hegseth wasn't up there making these pronouncements all by himself. Oh, no. He had some very public, and you could say very powerful, backup standing right next to him.
That's right. President Donald Trump himself was right there on stage. And his presence, it completely changed the game. This wasn't just some cabinet secretary's new policy anymore. This was a clear message coming straight from the top, from the commander-in-chief. It signaled that these reforms had the full, unambiguous backing of the White House.
And President Trump didn't just stand there. He gave the reasoning behind it all. He introduced this key word, meritocracy. He explained that this whole new direction was about making sure that promotions and positions are based purely on performance and results, and not, as he put it, on political considerations.
So let's just make sure we're all on the same page with this word, meritocracy. The way it was laid out here, it means a system where only two things matter for getting ahead: your skills and your track record. That's it. This was pitched as the central idea, the driving force behind this whole new military policy.
But then, right after all that, came a moment of reassurance. After the demands, after the talk of huge changes, the president promised to always stand behind our military. And that creates this really interesting dynamic, right? On one hand, a demand for massive change and loyalty, and on the other, a promise of total support.
Okay, so you've got these bombshells being dropped on stage. But what about the audience? You know, the actual people these messages were for? Their reaction, or maybe their lack of reaction, is perhaps the most revealing part of this whole story.
Just to set this scene for you, this wasn't just any audience. The room was packed with dozens of top military commanders. We're talking generals and admirals from the US and even from around the world. These are the very leaders who would have to go back and actually put all these new policies into action. And how did they react? With silence. Just a heavy, noticeable quiet in the room. You have to imagine, in a moment like that, with such a politically charged speech, the fact that you could hear a pin drop, well, that silence spoke volumes.
So that leads to the big question, right? Why the silence? Why would a room full of powerful leaders just sit there so quietly? Were they on board? Were they furious? Or was there something totally different going on?
Well, the answer really gets down to a core principle of how the U.S. military is supposed to work. It's this long-held tradition that puts the armed forces in a unique and, frankly, sometimes pretty tricky spot.
Here's the thing you have to understand. For a very long time, a fundamental rule for the U.S. military has been to stay out of politics. Their job is to serve the country and whoever is elected to lead it, no matter the political party. So for them to publicly cheer or boo during a political speech, that would be breaking a really big unwritten rule.
And that right there perfectly captures the tough spot they were in. These commanders have a duty to listen respectfully to their civilian bosses. But at the same time, they're hearing these super political statements. So what do? You fall back on your training and professionalism, which in this case meant staying silent.
You know, if we take a step back and look at the bigger picture, this whole event, the speech, the ultimatum, the silent response, it's really just one chapter in a much larger, ongoing conversation. And it's a conversation that's absolutely vital in any democracy. And that conversation is all about what the army is supposed to be. What's its purpose? How should it be managed? It's this constant back and forth, trying to balance a country's values with its need for security. And what we saw in that room was just a very public, and you could feel it, a very tense moment in that negotiation.
Really, the whole point of this ongoing discussion is to find that perfect balance. You want a military that's tough, disciplined, and gets the job done, for sure. But you also need it to be fair and just, and to really reflect the core values of the very society it's there to defend.
When you boil it all down, this whole episode serves as a pretty powerful reminder of one of the fundamental challenges that comes with running a democracy.
And it leaves us with a really important question to think about. How do you do it? How does a democracy make sure its military is loyal to the leaders we elect, while at the same time protecting that crucial tradition of the military staying out of politics? It's a tough balancing act, and honestly, it's a question every generation has to figure out for itself.
That's your briefing from World News. I'm Eve. Before we go, a quick recap. Key decisions in policy and markets, signals from tech and security, and the human angles behind the numbers. For more depth and verified updates, follow my channel World News Eve and enable notifications. We'll be back soon at this desk with clear facts and practical context you can use. Until then, stay informed and stay kind. Like my video, leave your comments, and help me bring news to everyone. From me to all of us, be happy.